Look, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is once asked a question that if some matter arises and we have no solution for that, what should we do? And he replied, "Shawiru fihi al-fuqaha al-abidin," and get instructions from the fuqaha who are worshippers. So this is why we say we have to follow the ulama and the reason for taqreed. Moving on, with regards to the four mazahib. Now, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Sahaba, Tabi'een, during that era there were many ulamas, and if you want to ask any question, you go to any area, there is an alim sitting in the masjid, you ask him, he will give you the reply, and you can act accordingly. But as time moves on, after nearly 200 years have passed, there are some mazahib which are established. Why are these mazahib established? Shah Abdul Aziz Muhaddis Dehlavi Rahmatullahi Alayhi has written one small risala with regards to the usul and the basis of the four mazahibs. He writes in there that when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam passed away, and our aslaf, as-salafus salihun and al-mujtahideen saw that the basis of the Islamic rulings is either on the Quran or on the hadith. And within the ahadith, there are many ahadith contradicting one another. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave these instructions over a period of 23 years. So sometimes he gave one instruction, other times he gave another instruction, because of the need of the time, because of the necessity. So this sometimes boggled the minds of many people. Should we do this or should we do that? They couldn't know what to do. So mujtahideen made their in-depth research and went into the study, and they found a way out of this hayrani and this mind-boggling effect. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, he looked at the amal and practice of the people of Medina, and he kept that in front of him all the time. So whenever some injunction comes, he looks at the amal of Ahl Medina, and he based his madhab on the practice of the people of Medina, because Medina Munawwara was the place of hijrat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is where he gave his final instructions, and during his later on in his life, that was the place of his khulafa, and that was the place of the children among the Sahaba and the people of Ahl Bayt, the place where the wahi used to be revealed. So the people of Medina, they would understand the meaning of the wahi, the meaning of the Quran, the meaning of the hadith better than any other people. So Imam Malik rahmatullah said that any hadith which comes, which is against the practice of the people of Medina, there will be some sort of ta'wil in there, some meaning in that, or it will be mansukh, abrogated, or it will be for a special occasion, or there will be some story, mahzoof behind it. Therefore, that hadith will not be taken into account. However, other ahadith and the practice of people of Medina will be taken into account. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi had many students. Among his students, Abdullah ibn Wahb al-Maliki, he was a great muhaddis. He stayed in the service of Imam Malik rahmatullahi for 20 years. And he says that, you know something, أَكْثَرْتُ مِنَ الْحَدِيثِ فَحَيَّرَنِي. I learned plenty of ahadith, and my mind was boggled. I didn't know why sometimes it's like this in hadith, another hadith like this, sometimes this and sometimes like that. Couldn't understand, so I would all be disturbed. And if Allah had not saved me and rescued me through two persons, I would have deviated, I would have been led astray. One was Imam Malik, other was Layth ibn Sa'd. Allah saved me through these two. How? He says, because I used to go to them and put the ahadith in front of them, and they would explain that خُذْ هَذَا وَدَعْ هَذَا وَهَذَا يُعْمَلُ بِهِ وَهَذَا لَا يُعْمَلُ بِهِ. Take this, leave this. This is practiced upon, this is not practiced upon. So then things would come into full perspective and I could understand. Both are hadith, but they would explain that this is the meaning. One of the students of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah says, I would go to the mashayikh of hadith and learn hadith from them. My mind would be boggled. I would come to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah and he would explain the whole situation to me. فَدَخَلَ فِي قَلْبِي مِنْ بَيَانِهِ وَشَرْحِهِ النُّورِ. And when he would be speaking, then I could feel the nur coming into my heart upon his explanation, how he would combine all the ahadith and explain the masla in full context. So this is how they used to explain the ahadith. Imam Malik's madhab was based on the amal and practice of Ahl Madinah. Moving on, Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi comes after him. And Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi, he studied in Makkah Mukarramah and then went to Medina Munawwara. He based his madhab and his research on the practices of both the cities, Makkah and Medina. Then he traveled to Iraq and he traveled to Egypt, and later on in his life he stayed in Egypt. So now when he traveled to Iraq, he met other learned ulama and scholars, and he found new ahadith which he had not learned the ahadith in Makkah and in Medina. So therefore in his madhab, in many verdicts he changed his view. That is why in Imam Shafi'i's madhab you get many times qawli qadim and qawli jadid. That this was the qawli qadim, the earlier view of Imam Shafi'i, and this was the new and fresh and later on view of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi. Because when he moved on and he researched and he went through other ahadith, his views in many subjects changed. So this was the basis of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi's madhab. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi, he comes and he looks at ahadith, and his attitude is that he keeps all ahadith on their zahir, on their apparent meaning. He takes every hadith on its face value. And because there might be differences in the hadith, that's why you get many different verdicts and aqwal in the mazhab of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. That Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he has two qawl in this masla. He said this and he said this as well. This could also apply and this could also apply, because there are both types of hadith. So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's madhab is quite spread out, and in one masla he has 2, 3 sometimes different aqwal in his madhab, because there are 2, 3 different ahadith. For example, with regards to sajdah sahw, if someone makes mistake in his salah, then in the end he has to do sajdah sahw. Now should that sajdah sahw be done after saying Salaam Alaikum and then sajdah sahw, or should it be done before Salaam Alaikum? The Hanafi view is that first read your tahiyyat, say one salam, then go into sajdah sahw twice, and then read your tahiyyat, durood sharif and dua, and then say Salaam Alaikum, Salaam Alaikum. And the view of Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah is that do your sajdah sahw before salam. That you read your tahiyyat and then just immediately Allahu Akbar, go into sajdah, and the congregation go into sajdah qabla salam, before salam. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he has both views. Sometimes he say, if you make this mistake in salat, then you do it before salam. If you make this mistake in salah, then you do it after salam. He looks at the hadith, that in this hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a mistake of leaving out qa'da at-tahiyyat after 2 rakats in Maghrib salat, and he stood up immediately for the 3rd rakat, and he did before salam. So he said, if you do that, then you do before salam. In another place he made this mistake and he did after salam, so he said you do after salam. So there will be 2 calls in the right of Imam Ahmad according to his research, his investigation. Now Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, he comes and he looks at the hadith, and he sees that in some hadith are very, very clear in their ruling and command in order which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives. And he sees that the ahadith in Shariah and Ahkam are of 2 types. One are al-qawa'idul kulliyah, qa'idah kulliyah, general rule. That rule is set, established from hadith, and everything else comes under that ruling. And number 2, al-ahkam al-juz'iyyah, juz'i ahkam, separate incidents. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah says that in some ahadith we see that there are al-qawaidul kulliyah, general rulings. Hudur Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a ruling. For example, he says al-ghunmu bil-ghurb, al-bay'u yatimmu bil-ijab wal-qubul, al-bayyinatu ala al-mudda'i wal-yaminu ala man ankar. These are rulings in ahadith. For example, you read al-ashbah wal-nazair, you get there a ruling al-umuru bi maqasidiha. You get a ruling al-yaqeen la yazul bi shak. If you have a yaqeen, firm yaqeen regarding something, then doubt will not remove and eliminate that yaqeen and that firm belief. This is taken from the hadith wherein Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked that a person feels some movements in his belly, does his wuzu break? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, no, until he hears some noise or he smells some smell. So he meant to say that until he is 100% convicted, he has conviction that his wuzu is broken, his wuzu will not be regarded as broken. So from that this usul comes that al-yaqeen la yazul bishak. And beneath that qaida, many ahkam will come. Similarly, you get, say for example, al-bay'u la yabtulu, he mentions some qawaid. For example, al-bay'u yabtulu bi-shurut al-fasida, that if you make a transaction, then that transaction will be nullified by any shart which is fasid. Any conditions you put inside which are wrong, then that transaction will be nullified. You get this usul from ahadith. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says that these usul and rulings and general rulings will be in its place, and the juz'iyat will come under them. They will have some meaning behind it. For example, we get this hadith which says that Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu says Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam bought my camel from me, and I put a condition that, okay, Ya Rasulullah, I sell you the camel, but I will ride on it until Medina Munawwara. So this is a juz'i incident. But there is the rule, general ruling, that if you make a transaction and if you put in such conditions, then that transaction will be nullified. So this hadith, even though it's coming, but there will be some meaning behind it, some reason behind it, and that ruling will not be broken because of this single hadith. This single hadith, we will say there is some speciality for it, some reason behind it. Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to be nice to him. He wanted to give him some gift and hadiyah. This was his mannerism. Because when he came to Medina Munawwara, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him the money for the purchase, and and then he gave him the camel back as well. So he only wanted to give him a hadiyah, and this was a way of offering that hadiyah. So the general ruling will keep in its place, and it will not be broken by these juz'iyat. So Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi says that these are qawaid which are taken out from Quran, from hadith, not from our own pockets, from Quran, from hadith, and those qawaid will stay intact. And the ahadith which come, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ, read the Quran. Now this is aam. Aam means general, read anything from the Quran. Now if a hadith comes and says that La salata illa bi fatihatil kitab, that your salat will be only valid with Surah Fatiha, then what will we do? We will keep that aam and general qaida of Quran in its place, and because of this one hadith, we can't say that Surah Fatiha is farz. We will say that Surah Fatiha can be wajib, but not farz, because farz is only qiraat. Farz is qira'at, reading anything from the Quran. If you read anything from the Quran, your salat will be okay. But if you don't read anything, your salat will be broken, it will not be counted. If you just keep quiet and you go in ruku, your salat is not accepted. But if you read anything, let's say Qul Huwallah, and you forget to read Surah Fatiha, your salat will be valid, even though you will have to do sajdah sahw, but your salat will be valid, it will not be nullified. Similarly, Allah Pak said, Farka'u wasjudu, do ruku', do sajda. So this is a ruling, general ruling. You have to do ruku', you have to do sajda. Now, having itminan and doing ruku' with tranquility and sukoon and slowly, this will not be farz, because the general ruling is ruku'. As long as you have done your ruku' and as long as you have done your sajda, your salat will be okay. But to say that you will have to have tamanina and you will have to have stay in your ruku', in your sajda for 3 tasbihat, and this is farz, like Imam Ahmad said, i'tidal and tamanina is farz, it will not be right. The general ruling of the Quran is ruku' sujood, which has been done. So tranquility and doing slowly, this will not be regarded farz. It can be regarded as wajib or sunnat or anything, but not farz. Faraid in salat will only be the 6 or 7 faraids which I mentioned: takbir tahrima, qiyam, qiraat, ruku, sujood, and tashahud, tahiyyat, sitting in the tashahud. These are the only faraiz. The others will be either wajib or sunnah. So the general rulings are taken from Quran, from hadith, and the juz'iyat which come, they go along the general rulings. This is how the Hanafi madhab was established by the mujtahideen.